In a world gripped by chaos, fear, and doubt, where fleeting emotions often dominate the mind, there are certain practices that break free from this cycle, habits that seem insurmountable, painful even. They are the kind that shake you to your core, demanding more than you think you're capable of giving. Yet these are the very habits that carve out your character, shaping not just the present moment, but echoing across the years to come. This is the essence of what the Stoics taught. And though the discipline may seem overwhelming, these habits have been praised by the wisest among us for centuries, not because they are easy, but because they last forever. You will not find comfort here. You will not find shortcuts. But in these practices, you will find something far greater: strength, resilience, freedom. 1. Mastering the art of self-control. In a world so easily ruled by passion and desire, one of the most powerful habits a person can develop is the ability to master their impulses. Think about it. We live in an age where we are constantly distracted, constantly pulled in different directions. Social media, news, the opinions of others, each one acts as a string tied to us, pulling us from side to side. Yet what if you could cut those strings? As Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher, famously said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." The habit of self-control is not about denying your desires, but understanding them. It's about realizing that the things you crave today are often the very things that will destroy you tomorrow. How many times have we chased pleasure only to find it turn to ash in our mouths? Self-control is not a battle you fight once. It is a war you wage every day. But each time you choose restraint, each time you choose to control yourself instead of letting the world control you, you take a step closer to true freedom. 2. Embracing voluntary discomfort. No one wants to suffer. But suffering, the Stoics knew, is inevitable. What matters is how we face it. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote in his Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The obstacle is not to be feared, it is to be embraced. This habit is one of the hardest to form. The deliberate, conscious choice to seek out discomfort, to face hardship before it faces you. Cold showers, fasting, long periods of silence, these practices may seem strange, even masochistic, but they forge an inner strength that cannot be broken. When you learn to voluntarily suffer, you learn that suffering has no power over you. The moment you embrace discomfort is the moment you stop fearing it. It's like forging iron in a furnace. The hotter the fire, the stronger the metal becomes. And so it is with us. 3. Destruction of the ego. Ego is the enemy, they say. But it's more than that. It is a prison. Our ego traps us in a never-ending cycle of comparison, judgment, and insecurity. We measure ourselves against others, seeking validation, approval, and respect. But the Stoics knew that this chase is a fool's errand. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." The habit of daily ego destruction is one of the most difficult, for it requires brutal honesty. It requires that we look in the mirror and admit our insignificance. We are not special. We are not unique. We are not deserving of anything simply by existing. This realization, though painful, is liberating. Once we stop clinging to our egos, we can act not out of pride, but out of purpose. And that is where true power lies. 4. Emotional detachment, the Stoic mindset. Anger, fear, jealousy, these emotions, when left unchecked, rot the soul from the inside. But controlling emotions is easier said than done, and for many, it feels like trying to tame a wild beast. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the foundation of emotional detachment. It's not about being cold or unfeeling, but about refusing to be a slave to your emotions. The Stoics believed in viewing every emotion through the lens of reason, asking, Does this emotion serve me? Does it make me stronger? This habit of emotional detachment does not come easily. It is a daily practice, a conscious decision to step back and observe your emotions as though they were not your own. Over time, you will realize that your emotions, like waves, rise and fall, but they do not define you. You are the stillness beneath the waves. 5. Gratitude for life's brutality. In today's world, gratitude is often misunderstood. We are told to be thankful for what we have, but the Stoics took it a step further. They practiced gratitude for all of life, especially the painful parts. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." He believed that everything, even the suffering, had its purpose. This is perhaps the hardest habit to form, being thankful for adversity. It sounds counterintuitive, but think about it. Every challenge, every hardship, every painful experience has shaped you into who you are today. This is the essence of Stoic gratitude, not just being thankful for the good, but for the bad as well. For in every moment of suffering there is a seed of growth. In every loss, there is a lesson. To practice this habit is to see life through the lens of wisdom, to understand that every hardship is an opportunity. 6. The memento mori, constant awareness of death. There is a habit so profound, so unsettling, that few dare to adopt it. It is the habit of remembering death. The Stoics were obsessed with death not because they were morbid, but because they knew that in remembering death we learn how to live. You could leave life right now, Marcus Aurelius wrote. Let that determine what you do and say and think. This habit, known as memento mori, is the daily reminder that life is fleeting. Each breath we take brings us one step closer to the grave. This thought, instead of paralyzing us, should motivate us. It should inspire us to live with urgency, to act with purpose, to love fiercely, and to never take a single moment for granted. Memento mori teaches us that the greatest tragedy is not death, but a life lived without meaning. 7. Practicing amor fati, love of fate. Finally, we come to the Stoic habit that ties them all together. Amor fati, the love of fate. Friedrich Nietzsche, though not a Stoic himself, admired this concept deeply. He described amor fati as the desire to say yes to life, to embrace everything that happens, good or bad. The Stoics believed that fate was beyond our control, but what we could control was our response to it. Epictetus said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you want them to, but instead want them to happen as they do." This habit is not just about acceptance. It's about loving whatever life throws at you. It is the ultimate act of resilience. When you practice amor fati, you no longer resist life. You no longer fight against what is. Instead, you flow with it, trusting that everything, no matter how painful, is leading you exactly where you are meant to be. Conclusion. We are not promised ease in this life. In fact, the Stoics would say we are promised the opposite. Hardship is inevitable. But within that hardship, we find our strength. These habits, though damn hard to do, will shape us, mold us, and in time, set us free. This is not the easy path, but it is the only path worth walking. Embrace the struggle, embrace the pain, for in doing so, you will find the power to endure anything.